right, welcome everybody. I don't know where the sound is coming from. There we go. I hope you guys are doing great today. Maybe some of you are even still sleeping and luxuriating at your leisure. I myself am not. But I hope you're doing great. The sun's shining. It's a beautiful day. And Piddlin' Bill is out there getting ready to fire up the grill and gonna have some guests over and do some barbecue stuff. Things you do on beautiful Saturdays, right? Hey, Kathy R. Good to see you. Tennessee, welcome, girl. Okay, so today it is not Wild Speculation Friday. It's Wild Speculation Friday on Saturday. And those are the days that we reserve for the wildest of speculation. Good morning, DB. How are you doing? So I'm going to make people angry, DB. I'm going to make people angry. And, there's going to be people that are going to be coming in and they're going to be going, this isn't fact. You're not talking about fact. No, I'm not. And that is because I'm not a detective on this case, nor am I an officer of the court. I'm just one tiny little citizen in a sea of hundreds of millions of citizens. So I sincerely doubt my thoughts have the ability to destroy anything. Okay. So I'm going to talk about my knee-jerk reaction with this whole Richard Allen debacle. Hold on just one second. So we have so Richard Allen has been in jail since 2022 he was arrested for the murders of 8th graders Abigail Williams and Liberty German. It's been a bit shocking, actually, to see the change in his appearance and demeanor through this past 11 months, right? It's been shocking. We had an earlier video where he and his wife were at a little pool hall, like a little tavern, little bar or something, and they were playing pool. And he's dancing, right? He's playing pool and he's dancing and he seems like he's lighthearted and relaxed, and his wife is playing and laughing. And you see this, and then you're told this is the murderer, and you think, well, this guy must be like a heinous, like psychopath or a hardened killer where he's lived a life of crime, and so he doesn't have empathy for his victims. And more importantly, he's got this terrific personal kind of self-destructive streak. These are the kinds of things that you see from hardened criminals, from murderers. You go into the prison, you do an assessment with one of these guys. They don't care they're in prison. Trust me on this. They don't care that they're in prison. Now, they care very much that they may not have all the access they previously had to whatever their drug of choice is. They may care very much that they don't have access to the types of women that they enjoy, but they don't it doesn't scare them to be in prison. One of the reasons why is because and people that have been there can tell you that when you go into prison, you have this realization that there is a hierarchical structure there. There's a society that builds in a prison, and you have people, I'm talking about inmates. You have inmates that are very powerful and very influential. And then you sort of have the middle strata, people that have special skills like accounting or sometimes if they have legal information, like maybe they were a paralegal or something. Then you have the lower strata of people that, they're just clawing to try to make it in the world, and they find themselves in prison. And they're usually the ones that, have a really bad time in prison. But those guys that are at the top, the cream of the crop, the smart ones, they're running the show. If in fact, they're running the show to an extent that has to be a regular check for narcotics, because it's not prisoners that are bringing narcotics into the system. It's not visitors that are bringing narcotics into the system. It's corruptible prison guards. It's people that have access to the outside world, and they're getting a payoff somehow, right? And so the hierarchical structure in prison, they have the ability to procure the things they enjoy, maybe not as much as they had, in freedom, but they can certainly get a little bit, right? So, so generally you got some guy who's willing to go in the bright middle of the day, sunshine brightly, put himself into a position where he corners two girls at the end of the bridge, gets them across a river, according to what they say. I don't think that's what happened, but that's what they say. They being those people who believe they're in the know. Kill these two girls, arrange a crime scene, and then walk out and walk right back to their car that is out there parked in open sight. This takes a guy who is not rattled by fear, who is not anxious, maybe even psychopathic, where they're not really experiencing a great deal of negative affect. It's like going to work, right? Oh, well, today is the day I'm going to do this. And you get up, you put your work clothes on, and then you go do it. And then you go home and you order a pizza. And so that gives you this impression, oh, this Richard Allen dude, this is a bad dude, man. This is a guy that's going to be cold, and he's going to have like domestic violence charges in his past, and he's going to be a weirdo, and the people are going to come out of the woodwork with stories about how evil and horrible and heinous the man has been. And instead we find out he is working in the pharmacy at the local CVS, filling prescriptions, taking money from clients, greeting them. And you go, wait a minute, this is not computing. Like, what's it? This is odd, but I'm okay. I can deal with psychopaths. Look at Chris Watts. Okay, I can deal with psychopaths. So, okay, let's see, he's a psychopath. And this was just a way to make some good money. It was a good job. Well, why then, if this guy is psychopathic, he's committed crimes before, he's such a hardened criminal, can someone explain to me why he goes into jail and they did transport him to the prison? Why he's been there for a year and he has grown psychotic and is just a fraction of a shell of the previous man he was physically. His eyes are empty. He's weirded out. What happened to the guy? Right? Where is this hardened criminal that is not affected by these profound emotions? Where'd he go? So that right there, I have a problem with. I'm looking at this guy, the changes he's going through, it does not match what I have seen previously from people that committed these types of crimes. They don't care if they're in jail. They don't lose their shit. They just adapt and they become a part of the social strata in the prison. So something is off. right? And I'm like, well, maybe he's schizoaffective. Like maybe he's got a real mental disorder that would prompt a psychotic event in the case of heightened emotion, right? So maybe that's it. However, the prisons do a really good job. They generally have some of the best psychiatrists working for them, and they're not averse to giving them the proper medication that will keep them, that will stabilize these psychotic events. They can also feed them. They can make them eat. I'm not going to talk about that process, but they can put nutrition into his body. So what's happening here? What is this? Right? So then we get this crazy story from the defense team about, I don't know, cults or old time religions or militia people and white supremacy and the Aryan nation and Vikings. And I mean, it's weird, right? It's just a bizarre, crazy tale. And you're saying to yourself, what would make public private attorneys who accept this, offer to defend this guy, and they're willing to take the money that the state's offering, but they're good attorneys on their own. They're a private firm. So what makes them? Why would they take this case and then, as respected attorneys, put out a fantasy of something that looks, right out of something like Lincoln Lawyer? Like it just looks like a Hollywood tale that can't possibly be true. So everybody goes, ha ha, look at this. Ha ha ha, this is such BS. They're so stupid. These stupid people. I'm so superior. You know what I'm talking about. So superior. You're all idiots. You're all so dumb. You're all so stupid. And then we find out that actually Indiana is a hotbed for Odin's men. Indiana loves Odin's men and the whole Viking experience and going out and camping the week away in the woods wearing Viking attire and basically doing, LARPing and whatnot. Oh, yeah. And they also like it in Colorado. Have we had people move from Indiana to Colorado? Actually, we have. There's a guy that is being named in the arrest affidavit and the later filings by the defense who also picked up from Indianapolis and moved to Colorado to start a new chapter of his Odin's men. Right? I mean, it's weird. Okay. So if you're a member of one of these groups, people, you know that what you're doing is illegal and or could be considered illegal. Let me reframe that. Could be considered illegal, some of the activities that they would share. For example, militia, while we all have the right to defend ourselves, sometimes the militia, it gets a little worrisome, right? And I'm not passing judgment. Yeah, well, maybe I'm a little, but I get very worried when you have militia that are sporting Aryan nation or white power type symbolism. That's worrisome, right? I don't have a problem with citizens banding together with the idea being, if something horrible happens, let's protect our neighborhood. I think that's a necessary. I don't find that uncomfortable. But sadly, unfortunately, a lot of the militia, when you dig into those files, there's a lot of that symbolism, and it gets a little uncomfortable. So I'm gonna drop it here because I don't want to get bogged down in that idea. So through Facebook and people doing interviews, that it emerges, we see the emergence that actually there are people that are really, really into this Odinism type of religion, and they are divided among different factions, but they're there and they're very active in Indiana and yes, Colorado as well. So now you're thinking, okay, well, so weird idea that the defense has, strange idea. But if we take out the Viking thing, right? It's the Viking thing that's making people go, what? This is so crazy. What do you mean Vikings and human sacrifice? Like, what do you mean? Remember this? This is on Barry Morphew, but remember I put the little Viking hat on him, right? This image of this Viking hat, the Norse gods, this is what makes us recoil from the conceptualization by Richard Allen's defense team. It's this silly little hat that bothers us. Now, we all know that, Lori Vallow and the Chadster, we know that they essentially had set up a cult, right? We know that. We know that it's evil and it's damaging. When we talk about Charles Manson, we don't laugh and say, oh, you're such idiots to believe that Charles Manson did that. You're so silly. But I guarantee you, if Lori Vallow or Charlie Manson had been wearing a Viking hat, we wouldn't have accepted that idea. We would have said, this is nonsense. This is silly. Okay? So be sure to name what it is that you are so skeptical about, right? We got to be careful where our skepticism sits. So we got this guy with these defense attorneys, and they put out this really unexpected, completely shocking idea of Norse gods and, worship of Odin, and just out of left field, where everybody was left in shock. But we would not have been in shock if they had come out and said, oh, well, this was a internet ring for people that like snuff films, or this is an internet ring for people that like PEDO, blah, 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 right? Then we would have been like, oh, well, that's kind of what we were expecting to see. But guess what? Guess what? A lot of these fringe groups do to get money. Human trafficking, trafficking drugs. Sadly, in today's world, a photograph of a small child is a very, very lucrative business. So it wouldn't be unheard of, and police, law enforcement can tell you, wouldn't be unheard of that one of these militia, one of these really off, antisocial kind of cultish type, Aryan nation or whatever, it wouldn't be unusual that they're selling drugs to make money, that there's prostitution to make money. And I wonder how much money they could make with a snuff film. So we were sort of anticipating that, right? We were anticipating there had to have been a purpose for what happened to Libby and Abby. And I'm not saying it was a good purpose. Don't misquote me. I'm just saying that someone took a big risk to walk down there in the middle of the afternoon, the sun shining bright, people on the trails, kidnapped these two young girls or teens, and committed the most heinous crime within 100 feet of others, or I'm sorry, 100 yards of others. There had to have been a purpose. And so for 4 years, we all sat around saying, what's the purpose? Like, why would someone do this? Is this really a crazy man? Like, is this really someone who just was opportunistic and out of his mind and just did that? No, you would have had to have been organized to make it happen for it to work, right? So I think some of the Keegan Kline and some of the others that kind of got roped in as this discovery was building, I think a lot of us felt like it might come back to money, that somehow it was filmed or there were something happened that there would have been money or a payoff involved. And that actually goes along with the idea of this cult aspect. Okay. So just stay with me. I haven't gotten to my point yet. I'm laying the groundwork for why I have this unsettling thought. So was it last week? No, it's 2 weeks ago, going on 2 weeks ago. One of the guys that is connected to this defense team of this man that they say is under direct threat of these Odinists, right? I mean, these seem like two attorneys that are really serious about what they're talking about. They're not playing around. They don't look like they're having fun. They're not acting like they're, willing to have their law license pulled because they lie in an official court document. They named names. They provided evidence. What makes you think, if you're the guy sitting over there calling everybody idiots, what makes you think that two private attorneys that are successful in their own right would get together and say, you know what? Let's just put it all on the line. Let's put all our hard work, all our education, all of our work and our families' lives and our children's safety. Let's put it all on the line. Let's tell a big old fat lie that makes us look like clowns to save some little guy that works in a pharmacy. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's a great idea. Does that make any sense to anyone? So if you're sitting there calling these guys idiots and stupid, you better check yourself on what attorneys are allowed to do in official court documents, because what they are not allowed to do is to lie and know they're lying, nor are they allowed to suborn perjury from their client. They can't tell their client, okay, we want you to say this. We know it's not the truth, but we need you to say this so that our defense strategy will work. Not only will they lose their law license, they will go under the jailhouse. So you may want to check that role. So then we have 2 weeks ago, after this crazy story that comes out, 2 weeks ago, there is this, we got leaked photographs of the crime scene. We have photographs, actual investigation photographs of Abby and Libby and what they looked like. And this is why we believe that this was a ritualistic murder. Here's the crime scene. This is why we think it's a ritualistic murder. And these pictures apparently were given to a couple of different YouTube creators or investigators, right? Not investigators, YouTube creators or journalists, right? Well, when Murder Sheet? When they received them, obviously they said, "Oh shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Why did someone give these to us?" They do not know from whom these photographs came. They were not procured. They did not ask for them. The person didn't reach out and say, "Here, would you like these?" Nothing like that. They came in one day. I believe I think they said it was like a registered mail or a certified mail. And they opened it up and boom, there they were. And they just were horrified. They were horrified. The girl, the woman is just devastated. You can't unring a bell, right? You see something like that, it never goes away. It's imprinted in your mind forever. So they get these pictures completely unasked for. They don't know where they came from. They just literally dropped into their lap. And thankfully, they did the right thing and they went to the cops and they said, "This happened. I swear we did not ask for them. I swear no one asked us if we wanted them, but here they are." And they have reason to believe that other journalists or social media creators were also provided the same photos. Okay. Well, you're not really getting that part of the story when you read these newspaper articles, are you? It's just, oh, there's a leak and it's out there and people have it and they're talking. No, not the traditional link where somebody says, "What can you tell me? Just give me a little something." Or, "Na, na, 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 boo, boo. I have something you don't. Give me $1,000. None of that happened. None of that happened. It was a normal day like any other day. They come in, open their mail, and say, "Oh my God, this we don't want. This is not something that we want in our house, in our neighborhood, in our country. I don't want to ever see these photographs. How did this happen?" And they immediately contacted the police. There you go, right? So then you're left with this thought. If you are a skeptic, as I am, if you're always questioning what you see and you have to really think your way through it before you decide whether to believe in it or not. I'm not easily led. In fact, I'm pretty irritating to people that want me to believe something or not. My immediate knee-jerk reaction is bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay, I have to stop and I have to really be led to say, well, what about this? Well, how do you account for that? Well, where does this come from? Okay. So they get these pictures. They immediately call the police. They did not collect these pictures and take them to the police. They contacted them and said, "You need to get here now. And whatever's on that table, take it. We don't want it. We don't want to touch it." It's like a hot potato. Okay. So now you're left with this idea of, but why? So there's no doubt about it. Okay. There's no doubt about it. The photographs were investigation, crime scene photographs. So the only people that would have access to these photographs would be the defense team, the attorneys that are working the case, both defense and prosecution, and the police, right? The investigators or the people that work in the evidence room. That's it. That's only people that have it. Nobody else has access. No one. Now, everybody, including the people that says, "Oh, they're idiots. They're all idiots. You're all stupid. Every one of you, you're stupid." Okay. Well, if you stop a minute and get past the defense did it. Those evil defense, those evil Vikings, those Vikings did it. They did it wearing their stupid little horned hat. Okay, that's the knee-jerk reaction everybody immediately goes to is it had to be the defense. They're playing games. They're making the case messy and nasty and bad. And I keep going back to what I know. And I keep thinking about Richard Allen going from this big, strong, functioning guy to this tiny little scared lamb who can't eat in prison. And I'm thinking, why? A guy that's willing to go and murder these two young ladies in the manner in which it occurred and get away with it, to do such a thing in the middle of broad daylight, he's got to be a guy that is either completely psychopathic and has no corrective emotion at all, or he's done it so many times, he's engaged in this criminal activity so much that he's just desensitized to it, right? So going into jail for a year is not enough to rattle a guy like that. I know, I've done the evaluations on these guys. They don't care that they're in jail. So I'm thinking, who benefits? Who benefits from one of the guys connected to the defense team kills himself? The photos show up, the cops are alerted, an investigation starts, and about 3 days later, you got people from the defense that are committing suicide. Oh, that's weird. That's a little uncomfortable. Like, what's weirder? That we're talking about Vikings and worship of a Norse god and ritual sacrifice of two young ladies, or that there is someone connected to the defense team that gets murdered. Oh, I'm sorry, suicided, because they don't want you talking about Odin's men. Which is really weirder? Which one is really more realistic? Well, let me ask you this. What if you were the member of a very secret and uber powerful group of people that were basically benefiting financially from the associations with these other powerful men or women? Would you want your secret organization to be revealed to the world? Of course not. You don't. No. I mean, how long have we heard about the worship of Moloch and the Illuminati, and now it's all about the deep state, the uniparty. You know, we all these conspiracies for very, very powerful people that collectively group together their own power to sort of become the master race. And all the rest of us are just these little roly-poly slaves running around making money for those guys at the top, right? I mean, it's all over the internet. We hear about it all the time. What about Skull and Bones? Do you know Skull and Bones is a real thing? It's real. Now, the internet has presented it very often in ways that make it sound like fantasy and fantastical stuff. But law enforcement will tell you it's real. They really are a part of this. I know Skull and Bones in particular. So what if this Odinism? What if this is just a different version of this power conglomerate, like a Skull and Bones type of organization, or these people that go out and worship the big owl? What if it's just another version of that, but that you have some very powerful people in Indiana that are benefiting financially from their group of other powerful people? Well, then it really is to their benefit not to let all this come out in a court of law, where now they've got real people looking at them and questioning, okay, tell us a little more about your business practices. because this is a little uncomfortable. I don't get into the magic. There's no lizard people, y'all. There's no lizard people. Lizard people are not real, I promise you. And I don't believe, not for a minute, that we got little green men from Mars that are, working with the Secret Service protecting our presidents. That too is just rubbish and hogwash. That's silly, okay? But I know power, and I know psychopaths, and I know that there is capitalistic success in who your friends are. That is what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm a member of this group of women entrepreneurs. Okay. And these entrepreneurs, there's all kinds of us. There are ladies that own their own hair, hairstylists, fingernail, estheticians, doctors that do the beauty treatments that are, not insurance. You have to pay, private pay. There's some bankers. There's a lady there that has plumbers that she employs. And guess who's the first people that I call when I need help? I'm going to look and see if there's someone in that group that is offering the service that I need, so that I can support other women entrepreneurs. And I'm getting calls from them saying, hey, can you see my kid? Right? You see what I mean? So these groups exist. They're not illegal. These groups exist. And it's sort of like it's almost like a referral. I guess you could say it's a referral service for people. You identify with them, like in my case with this women's group. You identify with them because they're just like me. They have a skill, they have a profession, they have something that they do well. They've started their own businesses, and they're competing against these really big businesses, or they're competing against, the well-known people out there. And so it's a very structured and supportive group, and we help each other simply by providing a service that you need anyway. So if a bunch of women can get together and do that, then why wouldn't, let's say, a bunch of really uber powerful politicians do that? Can you see that if you're a powerful politician and you join up with other powerful politicians, no matter if they have a D or an R behind their name, you've now consolidated your power, right? Your influence grows exponentially. So don't be so quick to call people idiots and stupid if you don't know what you're talking about. You need to stop a minute and think about reality. So if we take away the goofy little, Viking hat, if we take away the goofy little Viking hat and we just think about a group of businessmen, a group of politicians that have consolidated power, very much like me with the women entrepreneurs, they've consolidated power. They call on each other for support and help rather than using advertising that's put out by mainstream media. Then you can begin to imagine, no, this could be a real thing. For example, what about a white power element? What about, I'm going to get together with only white business owners, and when I need something, I'm only going to use Caucasian business owners? I mean, it sounds gross and disgusting, but I'm saying, what if? Okay. So when you have someone who's just a content creator, that's all. They're just journalist investigators, and they're putting out, a podcast, and authentic crime scene photographs fall in their lap. you better stop a minute and quit calling people idiots and stupid and ask yourself, who has the power to do that? Where's that coming from? Don't tell me that these two attorneys that had to write this document describing this cult and the possibility of ritual sacrifice, that they've already put their lives on the line. They've already put their careers on the line by putting out this Hollywood story and knowing that people are going to make fun of them. They've already taken a big gulp and done that. Now they're going to start taking crime scene evidence and start handing it out to people they don't know. You guys are reaching. That is not what people do. That is not human behavior. Someone else released those photographs for a reason. Someone that had the connection to the crime scene evidence, which means they were law enforcement or prosecution, right? Now, they send these pictures over. The man and woman that received them immediately calls the police. They come and collect the pictures. An investigation is started, and 3 or 4 days later, one of the guys has committed suicide. Quotation marks. Suicide. Now, fast forward to the hearing where they're going to address this. Both attorneys quit. Walk away from the case. Walk away from the case. Don't forget, we had a judge step down from this case. There was a judge that refused to be on this case. And then this woman stepped in. I don't know. The skeptic in me, the person that questions everything, I'm sitting and I'm watching all this and I'm going, they want Odin's men to go away. They do not want any sort of evidence. They do not want anything that is going to come out that's going to prove that this conglomerate of power in Odinism, that it is alive and well and fully functioning in Indiana. They don't want that in the courtroom. They don't want it to come out. They don't want it to be real. And they've just erased Odinism from the defense of Richard Allen. Well, I'm going to ask you this question. What if it was ritual sacrifice? What if those two attorneys were ethical and intelligent, and that they were working the case within the law, the parameters of the law, and they legitimately believed that Richard Allen's civil rights were being violated by this powerful group of people exerting force on the investigation? What if? There's missing evidence in the thing. Do you remember that very first night when they were looking for the girls and Mike Patty came out and said, "Oh, Libby's phone is pinging all over town." Oh, no, I misspoke. That my mistake, my accident. I didn't understand. No, you understood. You did understand. And it wouldn't be that unusual driving through Houston, Texas, with all of its millions of people to pull up my pings and go, "Oh, look, her phone is pinging off of these different towers." Not unusual just because of the amount of traffic, right? But at 10 o'clock at night in Delphi, Indiana, you really think that those cell towers are overwhelmed? You know how many of those houses are still using landlines? The the pressure to say, we got our guy. Oh, look out in Indiana. Look out in Idaho. Look, you got a guy that came in, killed 4 people, and they tracked him all the way to Pennsylvania, and they got their man. They arrested him. What's wrong with you guys right here in this little tiny town where we all know each other? You had 4 years, you can't find the guy. You don't even know what his picture looks like. There were people on the trails that day. What's wrong with y'all? Why can't y'all give us a guy? Who the hell killed these 2 girls when you got a guy out in Indiana and they nailed his butt? But not our police force, not our state police. Look how crappy you guys are. Do you know that the state police sent the FBI home? And then to top it all off, you had, and this again, we are in the wildest of speculation today. This is the worst of the speculation. I'm owning it, okay? Now we got Drip Drop, who's come out and made a connection and has found people connected in Idaho to the deaths of these 4 people, the 4 college students in Idaho, that have the Odinites tattoos on him. So now we're talking about, okay, so we got these weird murders and events that happen in Indiana. And now we're going to zoom over to Colorado. Oh, look, there's another group of weird occurrences, crimes, and murders in Colorado. And then let's go on over to Utah and Idaho. What do we have? Weird kinds of murders and disappearances and crimes and events. Almost like there's a group of people that may be engaging in organized crime. There you go, True Crime Curator. It's the wildest of speculation today. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get some hate, True Crime. No doubt, Curator. I'm going to catch some hate on this video. I am expecting it, but I will have you know I'm wearing the brightest of pink today, pink velvet, no less. Wearing pink velvet. This is my armor. I stand against those that wish me harm in my pink velvet jogging suit. All right. No jogging involved. All right. So, let's see. President says 3,000 people, subtract half of them for women. That's 1,500 people in the immediate area who likely did it. Women could be involved, but not likely involved. Well, so hi, Javrat. Welcome. So I'll tell you another thing that I think about with Abby and Libby and this whole Richard Allen debacle. And, I don't think Richard Allen is blameless. Don't get me wrong. When I talk about my skepticism, don't misunderstand me. I'm not standing up in defense of he's an innocent man. No. Here's what I think. I think he had a role. I think he had a job to do. And that there were other people that also had jobs that day, maybe cutting the proper branches, preparing the crime scene, perhaps. Maybe, just like I've always felt in my gut, that Richard Allen walked the girls down the hill to the car that was sitting there waiting for them. And then they were driven to the actual location of death. And then after that part of it happened, then in the dark of night, once they literally called off the search, hey, who did that? Who called off the search? Now, there were some firemen, there were some family members that remained out on the trails looking, but not swarming as it had been in the hours before that, right? So why did we call it off? Oh, because it was so dark and it was so cold out there. Isn't that right, Sheriff? He was afraid for his men, for his officers. Oh, really? Because you got two citizens that are out on the trail that don't even come close to wearing the proper clothing. You're big, strong officers. This is Indiana. You have cold weather gear, good for down like 60 below zero. So why didn't your officers just go and get their coats? What happened to frack lights? Frack lights are pretty damn easy to set up. So exactly what was the real reason to get those people out of there that night? And why in the world, if this was about the safety of your officers, then why is it that you did not reconvene the search until 10 a.m.? Why not 6 a.m.? You were going to have two young ladies out there dealing with hypothermia. Why are we going to wait till 10? Oh, because you got to get up and get your coffee and have some bacon and eggs because it's going to be a long day and you're going to want to have, enough energy to search the trails. I get it. Totally get it. So they take Libby and Abby in a vehicle, wildest of speculations. They do whatever they're going to do wherever they did it. And then once the trails are cleared out a little more, they go through the cemetery and they come from the top down and place their bodies in the manner in which they were placed. Whatever happened with this defense team, I don't believe that they willingly resigned. I don't think they willingly did that. I think the goal was stop this line of communication about Odinism. Stop the focus on organized crime in Indiana. I believe that in my heart and soul. I believe that. There would be no reason to start the search at 10 a.m. the next day if you believed that those girls were alive. You would never start a search at 10 a.m. if there was a child who had been left out, lost in the forest. Never. Never. They would have gotten their coats. They would have put on the proper shoes. They would have had the proper lighting. And those men would never have left that forest without finding that child. That is the truth. So who knew what was really happening and who in the hell benefits by removing Odinism from the defense of Richard Allen? It's a big question. All right. So I'm done. Look, I don't disappoint. If I tell you that we're about to embark on the wildest of speculation, I mean it. Yeah, the girls were lured there. L&B is absolutely 100% yes. They were lured. That is, I believe that in my heart. Yes. I want to know why the DT stopped, but really RA. Wait a minute. I want to know why the DT. I don't know what you mean, Lise. Should have never been called off for the night. Absolutely, Quinny. Someone high up had to call it. Yep. Martin said, yes, that doesn't make sense. They should have searched right through the night for 2 kids. Absolutely, Martin. Yeah, no doubt. Yep. Hey, Crime Sleeping. How are you doing? I'll put a link up if you want to. Well, I can't. Nope, I can't right now. I'm so sorry. I totally agree. The search should have never been called off. Okay. Well, you know what, Crime Sleeping? I prefaced the live by saying this is going to be wild, 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 wild speculation. Only my opinion. I'm the eternal skeptic. So, if you're not going to like this, just leave because I'm going there. And so I'm definitely going to catch some hate. I know I never would have left knowing 2 young girls were out there. Very true, CC. And there were people that did stay searching. Okay, so it wasn't like everybody left and then the place was just dark and silent. That is not that. It was not like that. There were a few firemen that stayed. I don't remember if there were any of the cops that stayed, but I know some firemen did. And I know there were like family members and friends that were still out there. But in some ways, that even helps further cover up bringing the girls back. Because then if you hear, crackling leaves or broken, sounds and stuff, you just think it's people that are searching. So, I don't think it was planned that way. I'm just saying it would explain why maybe it would made it possible for them to come in, arrange the bodies, and get out and not be seen. Such horrific deeds were dismissed as a chance encounter. Oh my gosh, Caspi. Now that we know the crime scene, the condition of the crime scene, it's impossible. It is virtually impossible to believe this idea that it was all just a chance encounter by a homicidal maniac. It's impossible. And here's what I mean. How can you have someone who is killed and there is no blood around them? There's no blood on their body. How does that happen? It doesn't. If it was a homicidal maniac, a chance encounter, it would have been chaotic. It would have been chaotic. It would have been violent. It would have been messy. This was not a messy crime scene at all. The good guys stayed. There you go, CC. Absolutely. The good guys probably said, are you guys crazy? You're leaving? Like, really? Why? Just bring some damn frack lights in. Get us some spotlights out here. Send your wife to go get your coat. But no, we don't leave. Yeah, I agree, CC. You want to know who the good guys are? You want to know who's a part of the Odinism thing in Indiana? Look at the guys that left. There's the ones right there. The dark side seduces many. Oh, absolutely, Sasha. People do things in private that they would absolutely never do with the world watching. That is the absolute truth. I've heard stories that have just afterwards, I just would feel like then I had a need to pray because it was so. I don't even know I don't know how to describe. There's some really messed up people, y'all. There's some really messed up people in the world. And when you look at them from the outside, you think, there's this one person comes to mind, had a job. I got to be careful what I say. Their job, their public job was as if this person might have been like a banker or an engineer, someone scientific type, well-educated, that type of person, right? Big, huge house, big money. Worst person I've ever personally had to talk to. Monster. And on the surface, he just was, he was just anybody's little league coach. He was anybody's husband. Yeah. Don't ever look at somebody and judge them by, oh, well, they have a good job, they must be normal, or they have money, they must be normal. That don't do that. You'll overlook some real bad people. Yeah, lots of deviancy, especially in today's world. So, and maybe that accounts for my my skepticism. Maybe that accounts for why I hear something and I'm so hesitant to, embrace it. The new information, it takes me a while to sort of test it and ask myself, could this really, does this seem right? I will tell you, and I think so. A lot of times that leaves me, I think, at odds with people that I really love and respect and like and all that. There's a lot of people connected to true crime genre who only want the facts, and there's utility in that. I get the point of it. I 100% get the point of that. But if you don't know that something is fact, then why would you just accept it as fact? Because someone told you it was. And and Martin Smallwood and AK Rocks have done a great job. Here's the other side of it. Why would you accept that something that is written in an arrest affidavit, something that is a document of the court, why are you naturally believing that the people connected to that court are ethical, law-abiding citizens? Because there are some really dirty cops. There are some really corruptible politicians and people associated with the legal system. Just because something is written in a legal document does not mean that it's real. If you haven't watched the live last night on AK Rocks with Martin Smallwood, y'all need to go watch it. It was great. It's awesome. Look at the Koberger case. Look at the Koberger case. There's things being said in the Koberger case or that were said but are not there. Exactly as what we're dealing with the Barry Morphew investigation, the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. Be careful about just believing things on the surface. Accept that someone's saying, hey, here's the facts, this is what happened, but you're just at the starting point. It now becomes time to question it and test it and look for answers, which is what AK and Martin have done. They've taken all of the supposedly authentic, fact-based documents and data. They've put it all on a single timeline. And when you put it all on a single timeline, then you're like, okay, wait, hold on. That can't be true. It can't be true that you're going to get pizza and you're down in the woods all at the same time. That's impossible. It can't be true. So if you have not gone to AK Rocks from last night and watched the work that he and Martin Smallwood talked about last night, you've got to go watch this. You've got to go see what they're putting out there. You have to. You can't miss it. It's a perfect presentation for why I cannot always get behind the official story. Because there's people that have ulterior motives, and there's people that have investment in certain outcomes, and they don't mind sacrificing one of us little people in order to meet their outcome that is either going to give them money or it's going to give them greater power and control. It's something, there's a payoff. I think it's likely that Mike Pence is one of the dirtiest guys in politics, and he's the loudest guy in terms of, my God tells me to do this and my Bible tells me to do that. And I get really nervous about people that are quoting the Bible for justification for their work if they're being honest. If you're being honest, if you're following the ethics of your profession, then why are you constantly saying, oh, pay attention to my religion, don't worry too much about what I'm actually doing? That makes me nervous. AK has some good questions on the Morphew timeline. Well, there's a lot of questions about the timeline. There's a lot of questions about the attorneys involved. There's a lot of good questions, period. There's a lot of good questions related to some of the court officials. It's a mess. It's a mess. And I honestly believe that Delphi is a mess in the same exact way. But again, my point today, and I no one's going to say that I was trying to confuse the story or confuse the issue, because I've been very clear. This is the wildest speculation. Okay. And it comes from understanding a certain type of person, a certain type of antisocial personality, and their adaptation into prison. Richard Allen's reaction is not right, y'all. It's not right. And I've asked myself, maybe what is going on, maybe he has schizoaffective disorder. And so when he gets arrested and he gets really freaked out, then he goes into a psychotic event. But there are medications for psychosis. There are medications for psychosis. So what's either Richard Allen is not the guy, or he was a part of it, but he didn't actually kill them. That it's a conspiracy where there were multiple people involved that day in making this thing happen. And the very fact that you've got one of the young ladies that's killed, and her body is drained of blood. She has no blood left in her body, and it's not there where she's laying. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? So just that one piece of evidence alone is enough to make you realize, oh no, there had to have been other people involved. There's no way that this happened with one person. Absolutely not. No way. No way. Dream Suburb says he had nothing to do with this. And I agree. There are people that believe that. They think that he's the perfect patsy. I don't know about that. I don't have anything to base speculation on regarding that specifically, but I know that this is a man who is terrified. I know that for a fact. He is acting and behaving exactly like a person who is being held captive, let's say in Iran, or the Taliban steals that. This is what you see. He's afraid, scared. Really? You're the kind of guy that's able to kill two young ladies. Oh, let me qualify that for a second, people, while I'm being snarky. Two powerful athletes. Does that put it in perspective a little bit more? Athletes, powerful athletes. And I know people are going to say, well, he had a gun. Sure, he had a gun. I get that. But the very minute you hurt the first girl, the other girl is going to break and run. And I hate to say it, I'm not body shaming here, but Mr. Richard Allen, I don't think he can run uphill after Abby. Abby would be like a gazelle. And Abby only had one wound. So the very minute that he begins to harm Libby, or he hurts Abby one stab, but she lived for a long time. Her adrenaline would have kicked in. She'd have been gone. She would not have even felt the stab wound. It would have been pure survival mode. And Richard Allen is a short, well, you know, he's a squatty body. Can I say that? He's a little short fella who's probably, his waist size is bigger than his inseam. And I'm not body shaming. I'm talking about the reality that this is a man that could overpower and control two athletes in their prime, in their physical prime. That's a reality. I don't know why people want to argue with that. Oh, he had a gun. Okay, he had a gun. Or I can accept that. Nobody heard a gunshot on the trails, so he didn't shoot anybody. So what's your point about the gun? The minute that he stabs the first one, whoever it is, the other one's going to break and run. Now, could he bring down? I have questions that he would have the ability to bring down Libby because she was powerful. She was strong and heavy, and he's an old man. So my brain can't figure it out. I can't make it work in my head, the actual movement of the event. I don't think that he has the upper body strength to drag Libby through the water. I've heard that before, that he drug her through the water, and that's why it pulled off some of her clothes or her shoes and whatnot. Really? Have you ever tried to drag a 3-year-old toddler through the water? I'm a mom. I have. It's hard to drag something through running water. It's hard. It requires upper body strength. So the reason I'm saying all this is this: that whole official, well, I don't know if it's official story or not. We've been told that it's the official story, that he says down the hill, and they go down the hill, and then they go across the road, and then they go down another hill, and then they go up the riverbed, and then they cross over when it gets shallow in a certain point, and then they cross over into what the state has come out and said would have been waist deep water because there was flooding at the time, and then up the embankment, which a lot of guys have said, I don't see how they got up the embankment with that water, like the flood level that it was. Up the embankment, and then up a hill to the place where they located their bodies with very little blood. Does that make sense, y'all? Like, really? It's far more likely down the hill, in my opinion. Down the hill meant get down the hill because there's a road and there's a car or a truck on the road, and get in it. And then they went somewhere else and did whatever they did. And then when they come back over to the cemetery, where it's a really easy trek to carry the bodies down the hill halfway toward where the water is, and then arrange the bodies and prepare everything, under cover of darkness. And that's what I think happened. I know. Incoming. All right. Hit the deck. I get no indication he had a damn thing to do with it. I will tell you, I think it's him on the bridge. There's something there's one little part where you can almost kind of see his face, right? So I think it's him on the bridge. I don't think have we ever heard his voice? I don't know. I think the bridge guy sounds like Barry Morphew. I know that's hilarious. I think he does, but I've never heard Richard Allen's voice. Is there a recording out there that I haven't seen? Sasha, I would not disagree with what you just said. I would not disagree with that. Nothing, absolutely nothing connects him to this crime. Nothing. Even the bullet, it was not even there. Thank you. Oh, but they lost it, Dream. It was there. They just lost it. It's worse than JFK's bullet. The bridge guy had a mask on. Well, we don't know that, right? Like there wasn't a mask found. I think for sure you can tell that the bridge guy is he's layered his clothing. It does look like he has the what do you call I can't think what it's called, where when you're skiing, you can just pull up the cowl over your nose and face. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called now. Well, I mean, supposedly, Kaz P, supposedly this was a ritualistic crime that these two girls were offered as sacrifice to the god Odin, and that this was done by the members of the Odin sect that was there. Yes, balaclava. Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you. Yeah. So the balaclava, it does look like maybe he has one around his neck, maybe. Strawberry Wine, welcome. That was one of my dad's favorite songs of all time. Why do you think the defense left? I think they were scared. I think they're terrified. That's why they left, because they're terrified. They were scared to death. Carter was trying to explain that for 6 years. Here again, I'm going to catch hate. Okay. I feel very uncomfortable with Doug Carter. I hate to say that out loud, but I'm skeptical. I own that. I am a skeptic. If you can, let me say it this way. If you can convince me of whatever your belief is, your idea, if you can convince me, then you got some really good evidence, because I'm really skeptical, really, really skeptical. Robin says that Michelle After Dark has a voice comparison video. Let me look. I will tell you this. So the horses, I don't know if y'all remember all that. The horses and Garrett, I was the first one that said that Garrett was connected to Logan, that there was a photograph where he was in a picture with what's called a leopard Appaloosa. Okay. Leopard Appaloosas are really pretty rare. It's pretty uncommon to find a true leopard Appaloosa. And so I had this picture of Garrett Kurtz where he had this, in the picture was this leopard Appaloosa. And then a picture came out of Logan's property and there was a leopard Appaloosa. And I was like, what? Like, what's the chances? No, I know horses. For a long time, I know horses. And I said, that can't be. And so I got the pictures and I started comparing the spots because the spots on an Appaloosa would be like your fingerprints, right? They're unique and they don't get replicated with offspring or genetics or anything like that. So I started and I said, holy shit, that's the same damn horse. Okay. And then I talked about that it was the same horse, but then another creator came out and said, oh, look what I found. Okay. You can be the finder. I don't care. All right. D. Carter was saying all the time, forget the face, watch the way the BG walks. No, I can, yeah, sure. I agree. Dream Suburb. Yeah. It's the information he has. He knows the truth. He knows who the BG is, and he knows that it is not RA. And yet, Dream Suburb, after the hearing the other day, when the defense attorneys were basically muscled out of the position, the very first people that Doug Carter walks up to and gives them a big old hug is Mike and Becky Patty. Do not misquote me. I'm not saying that Mike and Becky Patty are a part of this or know anything about it. The exact opposite. Total opposite of that. What I'm saying is that Doug Carter, if he does know that this is not Richard Allen, then why is he going and showing so much support and love to Mike and Becky Patty? It's terrifying. If he really does know that they got the wrong guy, but he's being so kind to the grieving, basically parents, that's a monster. That's a monster. Yeah, I mean, you had the two girls that were killed beside the river, just north of there, on the exact reverse date. Very ritualistic. I always thought that was a weird story, the whole shack. Remember the shack? And we all went and watched it, right? We all went and watched the movie. I thought, why are you talking about this story about this terrible? I mean, it was a terrible. I mean, I get the whole God aspect of it, all that, but it was sad. It was a terrible event, but it very cringy. Cinnamon hot. Yeah, very cringy. Yeah. But anyway, I think the point of my speculation here is this. I believe that the photographs were released purposefully to create fear, that it was the first domino to fall, that was all pointed at the defense saying, you are no longer wanted as a part of this game. You guys need to get gone. Get out. We're not doing this. And I think that it was someone powerful that got the photos and sent them out, and that would be used to strong arm the defense to say, we're going to ruin you. We're going to set you up, and we're going to tell everybody that you guys released the photos. We're going to tell everybody that you did it and you're unethical and you're going to lose your law license because you released official crime scene photographs. We're going to do that to you. And when all these people that like true crime, when they find out that you put out these pictures, they will hate you. They will turn on you. There'll be no more Odin's men when we get finished with you guys. And just to prove it, oopsie, look, your friend just died. Gosh, that's tragic. Wonder what's going to happen to you and your law partner on this deal. Do y'all want to go quietly and leave us in peace? Or do we have to have another domino fall? And that's why I think it went down. I know I have a flair for the dramatic, but in my heart, I think that is sort of what happened. Yeah, I agree, dream suburb. Well, so the Odinism is a religion, right? Where they worship various Norse gods, and each god teaches you something different. And Odin is a god that creates great frustration. I've learned more about Odinism than I ever wanted to know. But I promise you this, the people that worship, they mean it. They're not playing. They believe what they have altars in their homes. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can find this one guy. Hold on just a second. Um, there's one guy that has, I don't want Richard Allen Odinism. I want plain old Odinism. Um, not, let's see. There's this guy who is from Indiana and he worships Odin, and he sold out he's a young guy, he's like 30 something, and he sold out everything, sold every possession he had, got a back, and he is now going visiting all of the sites. And I'm trying to find him. Don't tell me that this is weird fringe stuff. When you got a guy that's got millions of followers going around just simply visiting Odin type of settings, um, there's a lot of people that are following this religion and they believe in it. I can't. I think his name was it Jacob? I believe his name was Jacob. And you said Michelle After Dark has Richard Allen voice connection. I'm looking. Y'all talk among yourselves. Mm. And why isn't that opening? Okay, if you guys, okay, I found it. Okay, I found it. I found it. I found it. I found it. So this guy, Jacob Todson is the name, and he's got over 100,000 subscribers. And his, like, I'm looking at one of his videos, 160,000 views, another one 67,000 views. Celtic and Nordic paganism, 366,000 views. So Jacob Todson was working and living his best life, and he ended up selling everything out and going on this sabbatical, I guess you could say. So let me quickly share that. To you. Guy, look at the number of that he's got. You know, they're associated with the Norse people, the Vikings, the religious aspect of paganism at the Fort of the Yew Tree, the last burial mound in London, tomb. So this himself, he is tattooed paganism. Loading slow. So if you can hear me, put a 1. And then I ask you, do you think that there's powerful people? Because they definitely are in my computer. If you can hear me, put a 1. And I am going to present again what I'm trying to present. Share. I don't know at what point you guys were no longer hearing me. Let me see if you guys can hear me. Okay, so yeah. I was completely disconnected from the internet. Okay, here we go. So this guy, Jacob, excuse me, this guy, Jacob Todson, he's made 300 videos. He has 104,000 subscribers, but his videos can get as much as 160,000 views. Okay. So he sold out everything. He's a young guy, and he began traveling around the country, Europe, going to sites that are connected to the Vikings, Norse gods, paganism, Celtic religions, and that's all he's doing. He quit his job and he just walked out. And look at the number of comments, okay? Look at the number of comments. It goes on, the comments go on and on. Hail the gods. How can I find others in Texas? What do you mean, Jeff Burns? Others that worship Odin? There's other gods to worship besides Odin. I'm in Texas. Where are you guys? All Heirgata Angeseite sein mit uns. What do you think? Does this look fringe to any of you? Are there any in Oklahoma? How do I find them? So this is not a fringe idea. This is not a weird, off-the-wall, crazy idea. The Fellowship of Northern Traditions is a nonprofit religious organization devoted to the honoring of the gods, folk, and the spirits as they were understood by the ancient peoples of Northern Europe. Our organization is inclusive and non-political. Our focus is on in-person events. What? In-person events like the one you are about to watch. If you are interested in attending one of our events, please head over to our website to see all upcoming events. This video was made by the Wisdom of Odin YouTube channel with the permission of the Fellowship of Northern Traditions. All participants are aware they are being filmed and privacy is given when it is requested. And let me get through.
Turkey, wolf.
Look,
Fish,
it's Odin's men. I always wear a weird head on dress on my head and sing around the fire and beat drums. Oh, hail Odin! I interrupt this presentation to ask a very simple but important question. Where are the women? Do y'all see the video?
If anyone has any stories to share of spirits
present.
in their lives,
Drip Drop is freaked out. He's scared because of what he's uncovered and what he's talking about and things that have happened to him in his life.
No, we are here to show our love for this beautiful world we live on. So if anyone would like to share a story.
I got one. I was too young at the time to be conscious of any that happened, but it was a story that's been passed down.
Oh, look, it's swords. Please take note of the
Each
beards.
one of us that stands here tonight is the culmination of 1,000 generations that have come before us. The sum of 1,000 problems, 1,000 victories, and tens of thousands of defeats. But these victories and these defeats are the things that built the legends of the ancestors that we have. The things that made the memories, the stories that we tell around fires like these. And just as we look outwardly to our ancestors, we must also look inwardly to ourselves. Which of our stories are going to be the ones that our descendants repeat? What great deeds are we going to accomplish that will remind those who come after us who their family is? The members of this community have become like a family. Those of us that may have felt alone before can now look and see brothers and sisters in all corners of the world.
Those of us that may have felt alone before now have brothers and sisters.
The family that
You're
we have.
connected to the people that come before us and your families that will be on. I'm sorry. People, that's how you get a cult together. You find disenfranchised people. You find people that don't have connection or meaning, and then you give them special purpose. It's what Manson did. This, I don't care what people are telling you. I don't care if you got people going, oh, you're idiots. It's a bunch of fairy tales. I don't care what they're telling you. I'm telling you, this is real. I'm showing you proof that there is a lot of people, and this is a well-organized group. Well-organized. The Brigham Young look, well, it now seems to be associated with Odin's men. Guess who makes those fire rings? Prisoners in Indiana. What do you mean, Sketty Nona? And then Meeser Mom asked the question, well, how does this religion, where's the connection to killings? Hold on. So that, if you want to watch more from this guy, his name is Todd Jacobson. He's got a big YouTube channel, and it's nothing but, the northern traditions, the Odinist religions, Viking type stuff. Okay, so then, and now I'm having computer problems again. Yep, they got me. Let me try one thing. The only thing to do at this point is usually to shut my computer down. So hold on, let me see if this works. All right, hold on. I'm going to share something. 1 second. Hold, please. Hold, please. Hold, please. All right. Rare footage, Queen in Druid ceremony. Still think this is just a conspiracy.
Of Wales. To the ancient ceremonial and the age-long traditions of the bards is added a new note. Princess Elizabeth becomes an honorary bard. In the same valley, a few hundred yards away, are the pits and colliery villages of Wales. But here, for a little while, the past and the present meet.
Take note. We are accustomed to seeing the British with all their pomp and circumstance, the everybody wearing beautiful uniforms or dresses, but look at the people. Look at the observers. The people that are there to watch are all dressed the same. You see these people dressed just like the common folk, and they've got their big swords lining the edges. It's a glimpse back into history, a single moment in time, right?
Wearing the emerald green robe of the novitiate, the princess's name is added to the roll of bards.
Elizabeth of Windsor.
A circle had been erected for the national Eisteddfod of Wales. To the ancient ceremonial and the age-long traditions of the bards is added a new note. Princess Elizabeth becomes an honorary bard. In the same valley, a few hundred yards away, are the pits and colliery villages of Wales. But here, for a little while, the past and the present meet.
So there is one little setting that lets you see there's strange
human sacrifice is perhaps a pre-Christian practice we never stopped doing. Into Northern Europe, sacrifices actually didn't stop. In the Christian age, criminals were hanged typically at a gallows hill or Ravens Hill close to a church. This church may have been a sacred site in the pre-Christian religion, a place where people would have been hanged, also in heathen times. Christian executions were actually ritual processes. Typically, a person to be executed would become an embodiment of a Christian cosmological logic, a symbol of the fallen state of humanity. Much in a similar way as sacrifices have traditionally been identified with the deity that is receiving the sacrifice.
Oh, wait a minute. What do we see there? Gotta stop.
Traditionally been identified with the deity that is receiving this.
Look up here. Carved into the rock is the three tridents, the interlocking triangles, right? Which Drip Drop has found this tattoo on a human being, not only people connected to Richard Allen and Delphi, but now has also identified this tattoo on the hand of a person who was brother to the guy that Goncalves' brother murdered. So Steve Goncalves had a brother, the uncle of Kaylee Goncalves. He killed a guy. That guy's brother has this tattoo on him. Okay, so these are ancient carvings that show up while this professor is teaching you and telling you about his religion. He's owning it. He's not ashamed of it. So again, people that sit around and call you an idiot because you take the time to educate yourself about reality, do you care if they call you an idiot? You just keep on learning, just keep on educating yourself, keep on moving forward. And, you know, people that want to just call names and say, oh, I'm the smartest of the bunch because I can call you ugly words, let them live on their own happiness. Okay. This is super important. I'll tell you this too. I don't like, some of the tribal tattoos Chris Watts had on him seemed really out of step with his lifestyle and, how he presented himself too. I don't think the tattoos are bad. The tattoos have meaning, right? It's a messaging. It's an outward, let me say it the proper way. It's an outward expression of your inner experience. I know plenty of people that have tattoos on them, like when their child dies or their best friend dies, and they commemorate that, with a tattoo on their body. It's not the tattoo that is the problem. It is what is the message that is behind that tattoo. And these tribal symbolism, you got to take time to learn what it means. This means something. The interlocking triangles, it means something. And it's frightening. All right. It's people that are very passionate about their chosen religion, and they will follow their leader. They will follow the edicts of their religion, whether it's Christian or not. Just look at jihadis, right? There's plenty of Muslims out in the world that are not violent, crazed killers. But if you're a jihadi, if you have gotten sucked into that really, far right-wing expression of Islam, you could be a really dangerous person to others. All right. So I hope that this, we're at 2 hours. This is much longer than I really wanted it to be, but I've sort of made my case, right? That this is not a handful of rednecks out LARPing in the field on the weekend. These are real people that have fully embraced a religion that has been quite violent and scary, as history will tell. And when people of like mind join together for significance, they can consolidate power, and they can the people at the top can turn it into a grand capitalistic endeavor. I mean, imagine this. Let's say that in this country we have, let's say we got 10 million people that identify with this religion. Let's say half of them have wives. That's 15 million. That is a lot of votes come election day. Think about it. All right. All right, you guys. Y'all are awesome. Thank you. If you stayed through the wildest of speculation, I am eternally grateful. Y'all get ready. It's going to be a bloodbath. The haters are going to come out of the woodworks. But I stand strong that what I say, what I've presented, there's reason for me to believe this. And this is the way that I see it. It's my opinion only. All right. You guys have a great, 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 happy Saturday. And hit the thumbs up before you leave. And subscribe if you haven't. And of course, always leave a message under the video. See you guys later.